Hey, Larken Rose here. I want to start with an apology. I want to apologize for referring to Kristi Noem, or whatever, the head of the DHS, as Gestapo Barbie, because I think it's totally unfair and ridiculous for me to compare ICE to the Nazi Gestapo. After all, the Gestapo consisted of roving gangs of aggressive armed government thugs exercising illegal and arbitrary power, showing up and whisking people off the streets in broad daylight, masquerading as law enforcement but acting as an unaccountable secret police, often anonymously, while using shock and awe, intimidation, and terrorist tactics, forcibly kidnapping people, shipping some off to literal slave camps without trial or proof, not because those people were even alleged to have threatened or harmed anyone, but just because they belonged to a demographic category that the ruling class had decided to dehumanize and characterize as undesirables. Whereas ICE consists of roving gangs of aggressive armed government thugs exercising illegal and arbitrary power, showing up and whisking people off the streets in broad daylight, masquerading as law enforcement but acting as an unaccountable secret police, often anonymously, while using shock and awe, intimidation, and terrorist tactics, forcibly kidnapping people, shipping some off to literal slave camps without trial or proof, not because those people were even alleged to have threatened or harmed anyone, but just because they belonged to a demographic category that the ruling class had decided to dehumanize and characterize as undesirables. So I'm so sorry for having compared fascists to fascists. My deepest apologies. It's times like this that can be a little bit frustrating. At some point, I try to do outreach and I try to talk to the inner voluntarist in people. A lot of people who believe in freedom, or at least believed, maybe past tense, in freedom, fell for the ridiculous Mango Mussolini sales pitch. They thought he was going to be different. They thought he was going to be anti-establishment. He was going to be this rebel fighting against the deep state. If you ask me, it was absolutely ridiculous. Anybody thought that to begin with, and I pointed out before Trump ever was in office the first time, that's not what's going to happen. That's not what he is. That's not how any of this works. You're going to fall for it. You're going to get stabbed in the back. You're going to make excuses, and hopefully eventually you'll admit and acknowledge that you played the same stupid game and got the same stupid authoritarian results. And thankfully, there are a lot of people who originally fell for it and jumped on the Trump train and are now saying, oh, I didn't want this. But there are still people going, rah, 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 this is what I voted for. It's getting harder and harder to have sympathy for those people because those people are either profoundly stupid or profoundly evil at this point. It's one or the other. And the historical and philosophical ignorance of so many Americans, including conservatives who I would have thought would know better, it's just amazing. How do you think Stalin's Russia happened? How do you think Nazi Germany happened? How do you think Mao's Red China happened? It was cheered into power by people who thought, well, this huge pile of authoritarian control, this is for us. This is good. This is needed because scary bad things are happening and we need a strong guy at the front to protect us from blah, 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 blah. Now, it's easy from where we are now to point at those people and go, how gullible, how stupid, how could you fall for that? That's ridiculous. Did you not know what you were cheering for? Hey, conservatives who still support Trump. First of all, you're not conservatives. You're not constitutionalists. You're cheering for a literal police state, the exact thing you warned against whenever a Democratic puppet sits on the throne. Are you this dumb or are you this evil? Which one is it? You are literally, in the case of immigration, oh, scary immigrants. But this is real. This is a real crisis. So now we need absolute, unlimited, authoritarian police state fascism. But it doesn't count as fascism because fascism means something bad. But this is good because, strong man Trump is going to save us from scary brown people. How do you not see through this? How do you not see through this without noticing what you are and what you're cheering for? And when it's turned around and bites you in the butt, when some other clown is on the throne, you're kind of going to deserve it. When you say, they're claiming these police powers, you cheered for those police powers. And the fact that people are so dense and so oblivious to principles that they can fall for the exact same lie, even when some of us have been explaining it for years. Here is how they do the divide and conquer. Here is what they do. They start by scaring you with something. Might be something real, might be something all the way fake, might be something sort of real but drastically exaggerated. And they're going to scare you, and they're going to tell you that the only solution is to give them lots of authoritarian power and get all those silly little obstacles out of their way, like the Constitution or the concept of due process or presumption of innocence, all that silly stuff, and just really have a strong man save the day, rah, rah, rah. Maybe the most pathetic thing about conservatives who still support Trump is that while kissing the ass of this insecure, wuss, snowflake, crooked, scumbag piece of shit, you think you're the rugged badasses. Yeah, we're tough. We're really sticking it to the libtards. You're being controlled and monitored and spied on and taxed into oblivion by Big Daddy Trump. Big Daddy Trump, save us because we're so alpha and tough. You bunch of bootlicking pansies. The fact that you still imagine yourself, we're a rugged individualist, which is why we're kissing the ass of a wannabe dictator who doesn't hide it. Like Obama was a wannabe dictator, and he sort of hid it, but conservatives saw through it and said, wait a minute, yeah, here's his rhetoric, but look what he's actually doing. And then along comes the Trump puppet, and there's what he's actually doing, and the rhetoric that matches what he's actually doing, which is he doesn't give a shit about any limits on power. He doesn't give a shit even about the Constitution, doesn't care about due process, doesn't care about separation of powers, doesn't care about checks and balances. He literally talks like a dictator. And that wussy-ass pansy snowflake that you're all worshiping, he's not even a good, rugged, tough guy. He's the most insecure little pussy on the planet. Somebody should be arrested. The escalator my fat ass was trying to go up stopped. Somebody should be arrested because I can't walk my fat ass upstairs. That's your cool, badass Lord and Savior who cares more about somebody possibly tampering with an escalator, which they probably didn't, more than he cares about, Epstein, his buddy Epstein that he was good friends with for 15 years, and it's great fun to be around. Those are his stinking words, and he's the one you look up to as your strong man? What kind of spineless, idiotic pussy do you have to be to view Trump as the strong man that you want having power over people? It would be one thing if you fell for somebody who was actually rugged and tough and still an authoritarian. That would be bad enough. You fell for an insecure, pathological liar and just an overall scumbag. He's the most insecure little piece of shit that ever walked the earth. Anyone saying something critical, that has to be illegal. Comedians making fun of me, we have to have the courts look into that. That has to be illegal. Somebody turning off my escalator, they should be arrested. Holy shit. You fell for that? That is the guy you look up to save America? Good grief. It's just pathetic. If you support Trump at this point, you're fucking pathetic. If you supported him to begin with, You're gullible and ignorant if you thought he was actually going to like battle the deep state and save the day against the meanie Democrats, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But I see the talking heads out there still making excuses for this, and it's just fucking pathetic. You're kissing the ass of a truly slimy, insecure wuss of a human being. And all his bravado and like, I'm so tough, you're a pussy. And so is everybody who follows you and everybody cheering for the authoritarian solution that Mango Mussolini wants you to cheer for. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. If at first you thought these people are going to give us some justice, okay, you were just gullible and stupid and ignorant. Some of us were telling you from the beginning, it's not how this is going to go. If you're still cheering for those people, and I see a bunch of talking heads who they're so loyal to the party that they're now pathetically kissing the ass of these spineless little pieces of shit who are covering up heinous crimes against children. That's who you're cheering for. That's who you think is going to save the day. That's who you're going rah, rah, rah for. So it's not even that you're authoritarian fascist assholes cheering for some actual strong character like Putin. I'd put in that category. He's an evil piece of shit. He's a power-happy piece of crap. But at least he comes across as kind of masculine. Trump is the most insecure bitch I've ever seen in the office, including when Biden was completely senile and wasn't even there. Somebody totally brain dead is less of a wuss than Trump is. And the fact that you can't see that, or you won't see that, and you won't admit what it is you're cheering for, and you don't recognize that you are cheering in every way, shape, and form against your own freedom. No, he's just going to use this against scary brown people coming in without government permission. Are you really that fucking stupid? Yeah, Palantir, literally named after the evil spying thing in Lord of the Rings. Oh, don't worry, they're only going to use that power against super bad people, not against you, not against dissenters, not against critics. Never mind that Trump openly talks as if people critical of him should be prosecuted. Openly saying to reporters, maybe Pam Bundy's coming after you. You've been very unfair to me. That's the sort of insecure bootlicking dumbass that you look up to? That you view as a strong man? Holy shit. Have you no self-respect? Have you no spine? Back when I was a statist, I was a conservative. 30 years ago. Looking back on me back then, yeah, I believed dumb statist crap. I would have gone rah, rah, rah for the military. I would have wanted to imagine that law enforcement was on the right side. I would not have fallen for this. I would not have looked at Trump and went, yeah, he's going to save the day. I would have gone, oh, God, that's the other choice? Democrats and that? Another Democrat? A New York socialist liberal? That's who conservatives are supposed to look to save us? It's bad enough if you fell for this to begin with. If you're still cheering for Trump, you're just fucking pathetic. I don't know a nice way to say it, and you don't deserve it said in a nice way because of the evil shit you're cheering for and making excuses for and pretending doesn't exist. Oh, that Epstein thing, that was all a hoax. Really? So now, covering up for people who commit heinous crimes against children, you're going rah, rah, rah for that now? Well, I mean, Clinton was, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear how shitty Democrats are. I already know how shitty Democrats are. I was pointing that out for many, many years. The problem is you're cheering for somebody just as shitty. And all you can do when called on it is go, yeah, but those guys. You're the idiots in Nazi Germany who chose between fascism and communism, which was authoritarian collectivism or authoritarian collectivism. That's Republicans and Democrats. There's no difference. There's no fundamental difference. Trump increased spending. He signed the biggest socialist handout in the history of the country. And if you're going, what? What are you talking about? Maybe pay attention, dumbasses. Remember the stimulus things that he demanded to have his names on that created the mass inflation that helped to demolish the economy? That was your Lord and Savior Trump that did that. $1 trillion military budget? Really? That's pro-freedom? We don't believe in standing armies unless our guy is doing it. The massive tax increases that demolished so many American businesses done in the name of tariffs. We're gonna show them who's boss. Just destroying the lives of countless Americans. And then, don't worry, because then socialist Trump promises socialism to deal with the effects of his stupid socialism. Because when they tax the crap out of imports and exports and American farmers go, you're demolishing our business. Don't worry, I will give you loot that I stole from your neighbors like a good socialist and buy your loyalty. And you'll be stupid enough to cheer for that. And so will all the Republicans still supporting me because they're fucking idiots. Just like I said they are. He literally said if he was going to run for office, he'd run as a Republican because you're stupid. At the beginning, you demonstrated you were ignorant. Now you're demonstrating that you're an absolute idiot if you're still supporting him. You're not a conservative. You're not a constitutionalist. You're not anything. You're just a bootlicker of a slimeball. You don't even have the excuse that he's like an actual strong alpha character. He's not. He's the biggest pansy and insecure, sensitive snowflake wuss who's ever been in the White House. So, I'm going to try again to not talk much about Trump because anybody's still supporting him. You're a pansy and you're a socialist and you're a bootlicking moron. And so I'm going to kind of give up on you. And hope not too many people suffer as the result of your stupidity, just like they suffer when the left is in power. Just like they suffer under Obama and Biden, and except now we're just going to aim at a different group, and you're going to say, yeah, but that group we should be scared of, and we should cheer for authoritarianism all over the place. You bunch of pussies. Just pathetic. Stop calling yourselves conservatives. You're not. You're bootlicking collectivist idiots.